I'm alive. So, welcome to the 11th edition now of the BusyBee Boxing Podcast. Here to bring you boxing news, views, opinions, and a bit of banter. Today on the pod, I have joining me Ao, Idris, and Money Mike and myself. We thought that we'll do a bit of a snap podcast tonight because obviously there's a lot going on in the world of boxing, but specifically, we wanted to talk about the Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder protracted negotiations happening at present. If you're a new viewer to the channel, please subscribe. Please give us that support. If you are into your boxing content, follow us on Instagram at BusyBee Boxing and on Twitter at BusyBee Boxing as well. So let's kick things off. Before we start, guys, obviously coming off the back of the football match, pretty much all Arsenal fans on here apart from Mike, so obviously sad news on that. There's been a bit of breaking news, lads. Have you seen the breaking news? No one's seen the breaking news. The breaking news is that Chris Eubank abseiled off a tower in Brighton the other day. Did anyone see that? No takers on that. Okay, cool.
No, I didn't see it, but I'm interested to find out what exactly happened, I suppose.
Yeah, it was breaking news. He abseiled down a tower and he told everyone about it. So yeah, watch his space because he's probably gonna abseil off Canary Wharf. I just thought I'd share that with you guys first. But let's get into it. So we're gonna talk a bit about the AJ Wilder negotiations, and let's just start by stating the facts. Fact one: Team AJ, Matchroom, Eddie Hearn sent a flat fee offer of $12.5 million, we understand, to Deontay Wilder and Al Heyman about 2 weeks ago now. And it was a take it or leave it offer that they were asked to respond in, I think, 48 hours. Fact two: Team Deontay Wilder, as of last night, came back with a counter offer off the back of an interview Anthony Joshua gave with IFL TV, where he said, quote, "If you pay me $50 million, I will sign for the fight." So Team Wilder have made an offer, in a former offer, via email of $50 million with a 50-50 split and upside as well. Meaning, if the fight makes more than $50 million, Anthony Joshua is entitled to take that extra cut. So those are the facts that we know, but I just wanted to discuss this. Idris, over to you, mate. I know you missed the podcast on Sunday. What's your thoughts on what's going on at present?
Well, I think it's very interesting. I think it makes things a bit more. I think we're going to be a bit more clear as to who is been telling the truth about who's been actually making the offers and things like that. From my perspective, I think Deontay's been chasing the fight. Obviously, to fight AJ will be the biggest fight of his career, and obviously earn him the biggest purse of his career. So I do think he's actively been seeking the fight, and I actually do believe he believes he'll beat AJ. So he really does want the fight. I think now with this, in this social media era that we're in, I think putting stuff out there like he did last night has really put the cat amongst the pigeons, and we'll see what Eddie Hearn and Joshua are made of. Obviously, Eddie Hearn's talking about, let's see the legitimacy of the funds, which is fair enough. Joshua has obviously replied on Instagram and said, let's go. I'm happy. I'm very, very happy because I think things are going to snowball now. Things can only go forward, and they've got to make the fight later this year. It's got to happen. There's no other fight that's interesting. Or the controversy about mandatories and this and the other. I don't care about that. Joshua, AJ, and what's called Deontay Wilder, they need to get it on. And I think it's good. I think it's good what Deontay Wilder's done. And yeah, let's see what Eddie Hearn and Joshua are made of.
Idris, don't pull any punches, mate. Who's ducking a fight in your opinion? We've had two offers now. We've had a $12.5 million offer. I guess
a nonsense offer, joke offer.
Yeah, that was a contract offer, and we've had a written offer come back, a counter offer from Al Heyman for $50 million. Who, in your opinion, is ducking this fight? Don't pull any punches, man.
This is my honest opinion, and I've said this a minute. I think AJ is the better boxer in terms of his skill set. obviously his amateur background is vast, much vast in comparison to Deontay Wilder's. But I think Deontay Wilder's a better fighter in terms of he's going to brawl him. He'll be on to AJ. And I think AJ is looking at his brand. He's looking at his status. And I think him losing in a concussive manner, I think Joshua's been ducking, man. I think he's been ducking. Look at he's got a pretty face. I think Deontay's gonna mess that up, man. Honestly, I think it'll be a good fight, but I think AJ's been ducking. Honestly, he doesn't want it, not now. And remember, I think it was around our first ever podcast. We briefly touched on it, and I think AJ came out saying he wanted to fight Deontay Wilder in 2020. He came out and said that, and Deontay Wilder responded with, "He wants to fight me when I'm really old," you know. But yeah, I think AJ doesn't fully want the fight. He wants the money now. 50 million is, you know, and obviously AJ's got a very good chance to beat Deontay. But yeah, the answer to your question, I think AJ is been ducking.
So do you think, because I'm not gonna pull any punches here. I just think Uncle Eddie's ducking a fight, right? Because let's also add a bit of fuel to the fire. Remember 2 weeks ago when Eddie Hearn obviously hit back at myself and obviously a lot of guys on Twitter and said, this is not a £100 million fight. This is a £50 million fight. I know the numbers. That's why I've offered $12.5 million. It's 5 times what Deontay Wilder's ever earned, his biggest career purse today. But if you look at it, even if it's a $50 million fight, $12.5 million is only 25%. That's less of a split than Joseph Parker got. So how can Eddie Hearn really be serious about making a fight when he's offering the WBC champion, who is a bigger name than Joseph Parker? Let's be honest, 25% of a £50 million fight or $50 million fight. It doesn't make any sense. Would you agree, Idris?
But I didn't say that, you cut out.
So I was saying he's only offering him 25% of a £50 million fight. If $50 million fight, if Eddie Hearn's saying it's only a $50 million fight and he's giving him $12.5 million, how can he be serious about making a fight when Joseph Parker had we understand like a 33, I think it was like a 66, 33% split. He's giving him less than what he offered Joseph Parker in terms of a split.
Well, that's like we said, they've been ducking, and obviously Eddie Hearn is trying to protect his cash cow. He doesn't want Joshua in the fight with Deontay now, and I do believe this is a £100 million fight. I think AJ alone is going to bring a lot to the table, and obviously Deontay is, you know, he's box office. So I think with the offers that Eddie Hearn's made and the way he tries to duck questions and he's never directly answering, you know, he doesn't really want to, you know, lose his cash cow. And obviously, I think, and what I've heard is part of the 50 million deal is that obviously there wouldn't be a rematch clause in it, which is quite interesting to me. And I think that's something that AJ's team would want, particularly if AJ was to win, controversially or whatever. But, you know, Eddie Hearn's got the gift of the gab. You know, when you listen to his interviews and you hear him talking, you know, he's obviously he's a wordsmith. He knows what to say, and so yeah.
I understand what you're saying, mate. Hey, let me bring you in. What's your thoughts on this, mate? All the shit that we've been seeing on YouTube coming out of Eddie Hearn's mouth.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're a bit low. You might have to turn yourself up, mate.
You know what it is? I'm doing it off my phone today.
Oh, nice.
My laptop at my work house, so sorry guys.
Yeah, you know.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. My thoughts is, you know, obviously, you know, Eddie, you know, well, Wilder's made the offer and everything, but I have to back what Eddie Hearn said. There's a lot more than just 50 million. Here you go. Accept the fight. like as Idris just said, rematch clauses, this clause, who's the A side, walking out first, this, that, and then you've got where is the fight going to be? Do you know what I mean? There's a lot. What's the broadcasters? Who's going to broadcast? Is it Showtime? Is it HBO? Is it Sky? Is it going to be a joint thing? There's a lot of sort of contractual things to sort out. It's more than just here's 50 million, take it or leave it, and sign it by 12 midnight tonight. This is a massive fight. I mean, other than Mayweather, this is the next bracket down. I think, in regards to money wise. AJ has to. I don't think AJ personally is ducking the fight. I reckon AJ is a fighter. I think AJ's got heart. I don't think AJ's scared of Wilder. I reckon AJ generally believes that he can beat Wilder. His confidence must be very high because this is a guy that's pretty much knocked out 98% of all his opponents now. I just think that it's Eddie Hearn who's using his business head, who wants to build up the fight and drag things on a bit. That he's the one who doesn't want the fight this year. He ideally wants it next year in summer, Wembley Stadium. That's probably Eddie Hearn's dream. But I believe it was a good PR move by Wilder. Is the money real? We don't know. And as I said, my query is the thing that bugs me is all the contractual sort of niggly bits, important bits, like where is this fight actually going to be? If you've offered 50 million, what's the terms of the contract? Do you know what I mean? So it's a massive fight, and it ain't going to be done just like that by just offering money and expecting another, the A side fighter to just accept it like that because you've offered something, because you've offered the money. So that's pretty much my thought.
But can I ask a question? And I think you seem to fall on the side where you're kind of, I'm not saying brainwashed by Eddie Hearn, but obviously going with a lot of what Eddie Hearn said. Anthony Joshua said in the interview, on the IFL TV interview, that if there's a 50 million, and I'm guessing he made $1 offer from Team Wilder, he'll sign up for the fight. That's what he said, right? And all I think that Team Wilder have done is basically called his bluff. A lot of people in the UK are saying the venue is not agreed. Who are the broadcasters going to be? This and that. All that stuff is going to be in the contract, right? And obviously, we're not expecting Anthony Joshua to sign for the fight tonight. But what we are expecting, or what I would be expecting, is for him to verbally agree to fight him on that basis. Also, a lot of people are saying, where's the money going to come from? Hang on. Uncle Al Heyman's got a massive pot of money. Like, they can bring $50 million to the party from Showtime. Showtime are obviously paying for this fight. And they probably believe if this fight is in Vegas, it's going to be a $100 million fight. So, I don't know. I don't know. Do you think Eddie Hearn, because I just look at the interview that Eddie Hearn gave that you shared in the group, it just looked like he was squirming for excuses.
It does look like that. But what I will say is, I agree with you totally that I expect Anthony Joshua to put a verbal response and say, yes, I'm happy with the offer, but of course there's contractual niggly bits that needs to sort out. But once we got those contractual niggly bits to sort out, the fight will be signed. Now that's the variable there, because what are those contractual people could disagree over, broadcasters could disagree, where's it going to be? Is it they might say, well, venue's the better venue, but then thing will say, well, Wembley's the better venue. There's so many different things to sort of get round, and to so many big egos to sort of satisfy, that the fight ain't just going to be made like that. That's my point. The fight isn't going to be made just like that. Say like now Anthony Joshua comes up on Instagram and says, yes, I'm going to accept the fight. I'm happy with the 50 million offer. We just need to sort out the contractual negotiations. What is us as a fans going to say? We're going to have to wait. We're just going to have to wait. Do you know what I mean? So I think it was quite silly for Wilder to say, and the fight and the contract needs to be signed by 12 midnight tonight, which means it needs to be signed within the next 1 hour 40 minutes. That's silly. You shouldn't have put a time limit. Put the money there.
Can I chime in?
Confirm it, and then let's see what happens.
Can I chime in quickly?
Of course you can, mate.
Yeah, I don't think. I think when he said that, I think it was just a slip of the tongue. I don't think he meant to say that. I think he wanted them to accept the offer. I think he wanted them to accept the offer, and then because they're meeting on Friday. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think he wanted them to accept the offer, say, "Yep, okay, we'll take that offer, but let's start now. We can start the negotiations. We're going to do this fight." But I think when he said that, it was just a slip of the tongue. Because let's be honest, Deontay Wilder doesn't articulate himself. He's not quite articulate in his speech. So that's what I got from him. When he said that, I was thinking, well, they can't really sign it in 24 hours, mate. Like, I think you're just saying that because they're just trying to speed up the process. But yeah, carry on. Sorry.
No, I'm pretty much done. But I mean, yeah, I agree with what you said, Jason. That Anthony Joshua now has to respond, and he has to respond. Otherwise, it's not gonna look good in him. That's pretty much what I've got to say.
Can I ask a question, Ayo? So that interview you shared with Eddie Hearn, I thought that was just like comedy gold. But another point Eddie Hearn made in an interview, because I was just like trying to read his body language, and it just seemed like a ton of excuses. Another thing he said about 3 or 4 times in that interview to IFL TV is that they want the fight in England because Anthony Joshua has built something special. And yeah, if the money's there, they'll look at America, but they want the fight in England.
Yeah,
that's another obstacle because a couple months ago, Eddie Hearn was saying, "Oh, we'll go to Vegas and fight him. We'll fight him anywhere." Now all of a sudden,
what I'd say to that is put yourself in Anthony Joshua's position. You put yourself in Anthony Joshua's position. You're Anthony Joshua right now. If I'm Anthony Joshua right now, number one, I've got more of the belt. I'm the more recognized fighter. I'm the A side. I want all the advantage, and this guy's the most dangerous boxer we could be going to face. Definitely the most hardest hitter in the world. I want all the advantages that I can get. I want the fight in my hometown. I want this. I want to be second in the ring. I want to do. I would want all of those advantages too, and I'll just expect my promoters to fight for that as well. So, as much as sometimes the bravado and all of that can come out, and boxers can say one thing and do another. If I'm Anthony Joshua right now, I would want the fight in my hometown, 100%.
Well, I was going to say yeah.
Okay, I agree with that 100%. 100%, I agree with that. But if there's 50 million guaranteed, which is definitely more than I'm going to assume that's more than Joshua's made in any of his fights.
Yeah,
it's in one go. 50 million. That means then, you know what? Because Eddie Hearn's talked about going to America. He's talked about building up
Joshua's
brand in America. Well, now this is an opportunity. You're not going to get a better chance to fight.
When you build up a brand in America, what you want to do is have a sort of easy fight, like a medium fight, like Gerald Miller. You don't go in with
Yeah, I 100% hear that, but that's where the variable of the 50 million comes in.
Well, the offer was $50 million, so that translates into like 36, 37 million.
39.25.
How much, Mike?
39.25.
Yeah, and I think Joshua's biggest purse today would probably be around the 15, 20 million mark. So it represents double his biggest payday to date. But Mike, what's your thoughts on it, mate? Because it seems like obviously I'm the one who's attacking Eddie Hearn here, so back me up, mate.
Well, first of all, as this is a no holds barred, anything goes. Well, I'm just going to tell it how I see it. From day one, ever since obviously AJ won his first pro fight, he made it loud and clear what his intentions was to unify the division. When he beat Charles Martin for the first IBF belt, he said from day one, it's not about money for me, it's about unifying. So all this time, past fights, etc., Dylan White, Charles Martin, Dominic Brazil, every fight he's had, he's always said after the fight, he keeps it real. It's not about the money to him. He's got one ambition, one dream to unify the division. The man's had 21 fights and he's on the verge of doing something that's never been done before in boxing history. He said it's not about the money. On the flip side, Wilder's just come out of a wicked publicity stunt to make AJ say, look, mate, I've offered you $50 million. You went on TV and said, mate, pay me $50 million and I'll sign the contract. So now you've got $50 million in the fight. You've got no excuse. You said from day dot, it's not about the money. Secondly, you asked for $50 million. They hand you $50 million. Well, not hand you it, but they agree to fight. Obviously, money talks. Show me the money. Me being Money Mike, I'll be like, listen, show me the money. Money talks. So obviously, that's a stumbling block. But I don't think AJ's scared to fight Wilder. I think Eddie Hearn is scared of Wilder. And I think Eddie Hearn, deep down, listen to him talk, his body language, he's putting out every excuse under the sun for this fight not to happen. And I think Eddie Hearn is scared of Wilder because he knows that there's a possibility that his cash cow could lose the fight. And if his dream is to promote the first undisputed heavyweight champion, Deontay Wilder poses a serious threat to that ambition. I definitely agree with what Idris said. Anthony Joshua's the better boxer, but at the end of the day, everyone's got a money shot. Lennox Lewis, Rackman, Oliver McCall done the same to him. One lucky punch, and Wilder's got that in him. Wilder has got the equaliser. So Eddie Hearn knows for 12 rounds, AJ could be head on points. At some point, Wilder's going to land that equaliser shot. It's going to be a case of, can AJ take that punch? And it ain't. And I think the fight's going to be held in Wembley, and I think it's going to be that much hype surrounding the fight. I think it's going to be some bullshit judges. It's going to be some controversial, and it's going to be a rematch without a doubt.
See me, like I wouldn't want the fight in Wembley. Like I'm not this like maybe I'm like one of the old school boxing fans who like big fights in Vegas. I honestly think Vegas MGM Grand is like the mecca of boxing.
Yeah, but we had this conversation a couple of days ago.
Can I be honest? Can I just quickly? Can I just chime in quickly? What's good? I want it over here just because of timing. I want to watch it at a reasonable hour, man. I want it over here. I want to watch it at 10 o'clock at night. I don't want to be waking up at 2, 3 in the morning and not watching the fight till like 4, 5.
I agree with what Ayo said. If I was Joshua, I would want every advantage I can get my hands on, because every fight that's been in minus Vegas, the Barclays Centre, atmosphere's been shit. Cardiff, rocking. Wembley, rocking. O2, rocking. I'm sorry, but if it ain't me being an old school boxing fan from the days of Tyson, if it ain't at the MGM Grand or Madison Square Gardens, it ain't the same. Barclays Centre, I know it's 50,000, but the atmosphere's pants in now. Put it at Madison Square Gardens or somewhere like that, MGM Grand in Vegas. It's got to be. If it ain't one of them two venues, then it's got to be Wembley. But then I will want every advantage I can, because this is the biggest fight ever. Apart from, obviously, no one's going to break, obviously, Mayweather's record in boxing terms financially. But this is the next biggest fight. This is the only fight that anybody that's a true boxing fan wants to see. The heavyweight division, unified history in the making. And these two happen to be they've got the one opportunity that many great fighters down the lines have never had the opportunity to do. Hold all 4 major belts at one time. Never been done before. So yeah, I would want every advantage I can get my hands on. 80,000 people screaming for me and making it walk like a hell zone for Wilder. Yeah, of course he's going to be thinking, rah, I've never been in a stadium with 80,000 people. The most I've sold that is like 4,000. So yeah, I would want every advantage I can get my hands on. But I don't think it's AJ. I think Eddie Hearn is scared of Wilder.
Yeah, I don't think it's AJ. I'm not sitting there saying AJ is scared to fight Wilder. Obviously, AJ's a fighter. He's a champion. I don't think he's scared to get in the ring and roll the dice with Wilder. But I just think Uncle Eddie's looking at the situation and thinking, look, if AJ goes, Matchroom Boxing goes. That's the meal ticket for Stone.
Yeah, of course it is. That's his cash cow.
Exactly. That's the meal ticket for Eddie Hearn, the Towie lot. Everybody who's associated with Eddie Hearn and that gravy train is linked to Anthony Joshua's income. So that's why, for me, he doesn't want to roll the dice. But one of the things that I thought was ridiculous that he said was when he said, they have to show me the money. I don't want them to offer $50 million and put this fight out to tender. I want them to show me that they've got the funds. Why is he trying to make out like Al Heyman can't raise $50 million when he put together the Mayweather-McGregor fight? He put together the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. He was an advisor in the Mayweather De La Hoya fight.
Yeah,
I'm saying Al Heyman can't come up with $50 million. Right?
He's got papers. Like I said, if he can't find it, obviously HBO will bankroll it.
Showtime are going to bankroll it, because if Showtime control the fight, they're going to be able to bankroll $50 million. They paid Conor McGregor $60 million.
That's peanuts. And obviously, I saw the Eddie Hearn interview on Sky Sports, and the only thing that he said simultaneously more than once is, I'll look at the contract. I'll look at the contract. That's the only thing that he said concrete that he's going to do. Everything else just like, yeah, whatever. Show me the money, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I'll look at it. Yeah, I'll look at it. That's the only concrete thing that he said in the whole interview is, I'll look at the contract. But at the end of the day, no one does, look at the contract. But then you're going to go through that contract and think, well, no, don't like that. No, don't agree with that. Don't agree with that. And it's going to get to that stage where you think, like, you know what, forget the fight. It ain't going to happen. It's going to be like, well, come on. It's the only fight that anybody want to see in boxing. Even if you're not a boxing fan, people know obviously AJ. My missus doesn't even really follow boxing, but she still knows who AJ is. So he's got that appeal to him. Obviously he's doing his thing obviously outside the ring as well. He's got his AJ boxing. So he's sorted. He knows whatever happens in a couple of years' time he retires, he's set for life. That's it. He's already got boxers on his card already. So yeah, and Eddie Hearn knows that. Once AJ goes, that's it. That's his cash cow gone.
Yeah, I saw that Sky Sports interview.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
AJ, let's say AJ loses the fight. Is that the end of AJ?
No,
I think he can come back.
Okay, AJ will come back. There's enough fighters in the division, so obviously, I can see Wilder doing a Buster Douglas, becoming unified champion and losing the first person he fights in the defense. He can get sparked or he could lose. So then all the belts will be split up again. So yeah, definitely AJ can come back. AJ could be two-time, three-time world champion in that division easily.
I think
he's got the big fight with Dylan White. He can have again. He can have a big, rematch with him. So there'll be fights for him anyway.
Hey, Faker.
I think he can come again, AO. But I think it depends on the manner that he loses. If he gets hit with the first right hand and he goes down like a sack of potatoes, that's not going to do much for his brand image, is it? You know what I mean? All the Under Armour, Lucasade endorsements, they're going to quickly disappear because he's built up a reputation as like, you know, the most fierce, physically imposing heavyweight in the world. If he goes in with Wilder and gets sparked in the first right hand, it's not going to look good, is it? I think it depends on the manner of his loss, but I think he can always come back. He can be
definitely be a two-time, three-time world champion in that division at the moment, easily.
Just throwing the question out there to you guys. I mean, like, considering everything we talked about, considering everything that's been said, do we think that this fight's going to be made next, or do we think Uncle Eddie's going to swerve it and put AJ in with Jared Miller, Big Baby Miller? Or
I don't think the fight's going to be made. I honestly don't think the fight's going to be made.
I think it will.
I don't think it'll be made. And I'm not saying that I don't think it will ever be made, but I don't think it'll be made this year, which is what obviously Deontay Wilder wants. I think it's going to be made next year. I think there's going to be some sort of contractual dispute or something like that they couldn't make. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the whole Pacquiao Mayweather thing. Remember when Pacquiao and Pacquiao wouldn't come for blood tests and this and that, and the Mayweather was ducking and so. Do you know what I mean? I think it's just going to play out like that. And it's
there's no guarantee that either of them will be a world champion.
No, there's no guarantee, but I just think they're just going to roll the dice, because if you remember with Pacquiao and Mayweather, Pacquiao lost. I think he lost at least twice in between when the fight was done, and you know it's still grossed the highest ever. So I don't even think that will ever matter. It's the public demand is there. I just think that, you know, it's just not going to be made this year. There's more money to be made with this fight, and the promoter Eddie Hearn just dragging it out on purpose, just to build it up.
Yeah, I feel like if this fight's not made now, it loses its appeal. I think this is the moment to seize. But to your point, AR, I think Uncle Eddie doesn't want it. I think he'll put him in there with Miller. Then he'll probably have the mandatory against Povetkin. Then he'll look to put him against White, and then hope in the meantime Deontay Wilder's lost his WB.
Exactly. And look, that's even another excuse. Look, I mean, AJ's got 4 belts. How many people are mandatory for what belt? What belt? Do you know what I mean? Povetkin's mandatory. He could just say, "Oh, I have to fight my mandatory. I don't want to lose my belt." That's an excuse. That's a legitimate excuse he could use. He said, "Listen, I have to fight my mandatory." I mean, you know what I mean? And Povetkin and AJ is a good fight. That's a fight I would pay to watch, to be honest with you, because I actually believe AJ could lose that fight.
I think that's a bit of a dangerous fight. I know a lot of people are not rating Povetkin because
Well, he's proved he's a puncher. He can, and like I said, a fight can end on a puncher's chance, and he's certainly got a puncher's chance. Definitely, he's a good boxer too.
I think Povetkin would give it a better go than Joseph Parker. I think he's more dangerous than Parker. And I think, to be fair, if Anthony Joshua was to get rid of Povetkin, it's another good, solid name on his resume. But I think that's a great point. I think we'll start to hear that mandatory excuse pretty soon because the WBA obviously have called the negotiation between Povetkin and Anthony Joshua. And also, Povetkin's promoter came out the other day and said that they want to fight in Russia. And I forgot the guy's name, Povetkin's promoter, but he's like some big, I don't know if he's like an oil baron or steel magnate or one of these guys with a lot of money, but they're happy to pay. Like if it goes to like a purse bid situation, they'll be happy to pay to get AJ over. Like they'll be able to have a bit situation.
And what's the situation with the IBF? Because I know the IBF don't play. They don't play with any mandatory.
You've got mandatory. You're fighting that mandatory. You're fighting him.
So who's mandatory? Is it Dylan White that's mandatory now, or was it?
No, Dylan White's WBA mandatory. Still.
No, so Dylan White. So it's a really confusing situation. Like it's been flip flopping in the last couple of days. So WBC mandatory was
Dylan White.
But now it's changed to Brazil. So you shared that information, Mike. So now it's changed to Brazil. Now a lot of the kind of cynics are saying that if the Deontay Wilder AJ fight won't be made, then Wilder will defend against his mandatory Brazil. Basically, Al Heyman's got a good relationship with the WBC. So I don't know if I'd say there's been a backhander paid, but some sort of sweetener's been made to get Brazil number one.
Yeah. He's the same stable as Wilder, isn't he? So
well, yeah, exactly, belonging to PBC. Yeah. With the IBF situation, what's happened is they called last week. They said they were calling a final eliminator for the IBF belt between Kubrat Pulev and Dylan White. So Dylan White's obviously gone pretty high in those rankings, but he's also ranked by the WBC. And then you've got the WBA situation where obviously Povetkin's mandatory. So you've got quite a few situations going on. And I think what will happen is AJ will defend against or have a voluntary against Big Baby Miller to keep Big Baby Miller happy because obviously he's a matchroom fighter now. And then he'll start picking off those voluntaries, those mandatories, probably starting with Povetkin, then moving on to the winner of Pulev and White. So it's a complicated situation. And that's why if this Wilder fight is going to happen, it really needs to happen now before belts start getting lost.
All right, Jay, throw this one into the mix. Supposing that happens, and somewhere along the line, Wilder loses his belt before he's got to fight Povetkin as a mandatory. You know they're going to go straight for that person who has a WBC belt. So Povetkin will be paid some step-aside money. And then obviously the winner of the whoever's holding that belt, if it's not Wilder, is going to fight AJ for a unification.
Yeah, could you imagine if Brazil pulled off a shock win against Deontay Wilder? Eddie Hearn straight in there, mate, on the phone, negotiating that fight. That's what I'm saying. It's all just bullshit. It's just like I'm sorry. Like I like Eddie Hearn. I think he's a good promoter. I think he's a great salesman. He's definitely one of the best promoters in the world, if not the best. Definitely the best in the UK. But like he does half talk some shit. He does backtrack a lot. He does say things and then the next week say something completely different. For me, like the feeling I get, and to your point, Mike, picking up on the body language, reading between the lines, all the interviews they're giving, there's a lot of excuses being made and obstacles being thrown in the way of this fight. And, all this stuff about, especially the stuff on, I want to see where the money, like Eddie Hearn was like, oh, I want to see the venue, I want to see where the money's come from. All these things, it's like they're going on like Al Heyman, Showtime, and PBC, some sort of
startup company started out.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's the first fight they've ever negotiated. Like obviously these are big guys. Al Heyman's one of the most powerful men in boxing. What you think if he's telling Deontay Wilder to offer 50 million, they're just gonna fucking go and get it from behind the sofa? Like, come on, like this is Showtime. So yeah, I just think there's a lot of bullshit going on. Mike, just wanted to throw it to you because I know AO said he didn't think the fight would be made. Did you say you thought the fight would be made?
I thought about it, but obviously once it's analysed, looked for it from a obviously different point of view, I don't think it will. I think they'll probably go down the mandatory position and try and see if Wilder loses a belt before he gets there. But it'd be interesting to see. If it happens, then yeah, happy days. But I don't know. At the moment, I'm 50-50. I need to hear a bit more and then find out who's making excuses first, and then yeah. But I don't know. Half of me saying no, yes. Half of me saying no.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. Idris, are you still with us? Just double checking. Not sure if you're still with us. I think Idris might have dropped off. But yeah, I think we should just obviously stay close to the situation. Who knows what's going to happen? Obviously,
guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now, Idris.
Okay, I was there. I was just obviously just listening to everyone intently.
Yeah, I just threw out the question, Idris, and some of the guys answered. Do you think this fight's going to be made next, or do you think it's going to go down this bullshit mandatory route?
I think I'm 50-50 like Mike. I don't know if it will be made next, but I think it's going to be made soon. I don't know what that means though.
you think they'll do one of those ones, Idris, where they'll agree to fight, but they'll have fights in the interim?
Yeah, so they might say to you, okay, let's have one more fight each. They might do that.
Oh, again, they could say, let's both do the mandatory. Obviously, Wilder fights Brazil, and then obviously AJ fights Povetkin, and then obviously there's no more excuses after that. They've both done one mandatory each. There's no excuse. There's no excuse. The fight has to happen next after that if they go down that road. There's no excuse after that. You've dealt with your mandatory. I've dealt with my mandatory. If we both come through that, that's the only fight. Next stop, unification. Bang. Fuck the venue. Just get the fucking contract signed. Mate, Eddie Hearn, do your chatting. Just put your hand in a bowl and just pick something out of the hat. And that's it. Just get the fight on.
Yeah, I think the mandatory issues are going to fall on AJ's side. I don't think it's so much with Wilder because so who was his last mandatory? Wasn't it Stavern? It wasn't Ortiz. I think Ortiz was
mandatory.
It was Stavern.
It was Ortiz. I'm sure about that.
So that's what I'm saying. I don't think Wilder's due one for quite some time now. The WBC are not as strict as the IBF. I think where the issue is going to come is the IBF and Joshua. But I guess if Uncle Eddie can keep the governing bodies happy with brown envelopes, I think the most dangerous I see is the WBA because Povetkin's backers have money and they will force the agenda and they will try and get AJ over to Russia because they'll know they'll make a fortune off that fight and they will be able to outbid Sky and Matchroom. So yeah, I think that's an interesting one. But yeah, we shall see. Was there anything else anyone wanted to add before we wrap up? Obviously, it was going to be a short one tonight, but was there anything else anyone wanted to add on this?
No.
I think
Kind of good, you know.
Are we all going to go and sulk into our beers over the Arsenal result?
Well, I don't drink, so I'm going to be sober.
I don't drink either, but yeah, I'm not an Arsenal fan, so all I can say is condolences, man. That's what I can say.
We didn't lose the game. We still got a chance.
Bad time. There's still the second leg, so let's give hope.
Yeah, but you can't give Griezmann, man. You just can't give. He's going to punish you. Listen, they've conceded 4 goals at home all season, Jay. And Arsenal ain't exactly the most attacking team, to be honest. But I just can't see it, Jay. I think you boys might just don't turn up or just.
I'm still hoping.
The problem is we have to score. It's like we can't go and do 0-0. Like we have to score. That's the problem.
But the thing is, so Atletico.
That's what I'm saying.
You're going to have
Atletico don't have to score. 0-0 is good for Atletico. That's what I'm saying. The problem is we have to attack, and we're rubbish at defending already.
Yeah, and you got.
How can you concede against 10 men? Like, just hold a 1-0 lead. Like,
I'm sorry, but your defense is just shit.
No. Forget. Yeah, Koscielny is washed, but again, I think Koscielny looks washed because of the way the team's set up. This is why Wenger needs to go. Wenger just needs to go.
Well, it's good news. He is going, but yeah, let's wrap things up. So, thanks for everyone tuning in. Please subscribe to the channel, new viewers. Give us that extra support, extra visibility. As I said at the beginning, thumbs up on all our content. If you do like the boxing, follow us on Twitter at BusyBee Boxing and on Instagram at BusyBee Boxing. We are out. Thank you.
Right.